Beech Grove Cemetery was moved here in 1841 from uptown. In 1865, when the city of Muncie was created, it was given to the city of Muncie by the owners. It was self-sufficient until the mid-70s, when their sinking fund sank, so they were placed on the city tax rolls. So Beech Grove Cemetery is its own taxing unit, 0.0177 cents on the tax rate, which generates about $290,000 a year. The Cemetery Board of Trustees felt that a property of this magnitude and historic significance should be on the National Registry.
The National Register of Historic Places was established by the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. It falls within the National Park Service. It is the way we identify and keep track of and discover places of historic significance across the United States.
Beech Grove Cemetery was placed on the National Register of Historic Places June 25, 1999, and is the largest historic site in Delaware County.
But it is a great honor to be on the register and helps people be aware of the historic resource. One of the interesting things for Beech Grove is that graves and cemeteries are very rarely listed on the National Register. They are in fact a category of places that are normally excluded.
There was some talk earlier of maybe replacing the picket fence out front or doing different things, so you place this on the register and that kind of puts the dampers on changing a lot of the historic aesthetics of the property.
One of the things that really distinguishes Beech Grove as a special historical place is the Gothic architecture that's there. The main gate is a fabulous Gothic creation made from granite boulders and limestone trim.
The arch was designed by Wingham Huron, an architect out of Fort Wayne, who designed Carnegie Library.
It was built in 1904. The administration building was designed by the local architect Kuno Kibbley and built in between 21 and 23. Also Gothic revival in style. One of the interesting things about Beech Grove is the landscape itself, at least, was never really professionally designed. The plan somewhat exists today, and the first time it was really planned out was 1913 by O.W. Krabs, who was the third superintendent of the cemetery.
O.W. Krabs was a grain dealer by trade. He kind of got disenchanted with that. It was not professionally designed. He was an amateur, but was very interested in landscape design and contacted the people he needed to, basically learned as he went. Krabs was big on planting trees, shrubbery, peonies.
Over 500 trees, over 500 shrubs, I think 1,300 peony plants. And the landscape itself is the picturesque style of landscaping with its meandering lanes and abundance of trees and sort of rolling hills and so forth. So the landscape itself represents that period of design. There have been a lot of changes. There were two ponds, a lily pond and so forth, that have been filled in over the years.
Well, the chapel was constructed, if I remember right, in 1912. It was designed by Kuno Kibbley, who was a local architect. At that point, there were no big mortuaries as we think of today.
During the war and after, you had a lot of hobos riding the trains, and nickel plate splits the cemetery in two, goes to Fort Wayne, and the hobos would get off and spend the night in the chapel.
Beech Grove Cemetery is really almost a history book of Muncie, because influential people throughout Muncie's history are buried there. The Balls, the Overs, the Mehrings, all the Glass families that came to Muncie during the gas boom.
The largest mausoleum in the cemetery is the Kitzelman Mausoleum. At the time, that was a $50,000 mausoleum, which would equate in today's, you're close to $1 million. The Johnson Mausoleum, which is the last one and towards the back of Mausoleum Row, which is the burial place of Abbott Johnson and Ray Johnson. The Johnson brothers actually had a lumber business. They built the first business block in Muncie.
We have soldiers from every war here. 2 Revolutionary War soldiers. We had Medal of Honor winner from the Civil War, William J. Carson. So it starts there and it goes through it. We have soldiers from Afghanistan. The cannon came from Washington, D.C. Through the Civil Defense Department here, and they asked us if we'd like to have a cannon. I think right after World War II.
2 years ago, the Muncie Historic Preservation Commission held a ghost tour event, and it was very popular. We missed last year, but we'll take participants on a tour of the cemetery. We are working with Muncie Civic Theater to have some actors there to portray some of the important figures from Muncie's past, and they'll be standing near their graves and do a little spiel about who they are and what they were all about, and people seem to really enjoy it. You know, if you don't have a loved one buried there, there may not be any reason for you to go to the cemetery. And so a lot of folks are totally unaware of the fantastic architecture and sculpture and artwork that's there and the history that the cemetery represents.
Beech Grove Cemetery is an outdoor museum, you know, of art and history. Who's who in Delaware County is buried in this cemetery.
It's a history lesson about the community, really, to go exploring there.